On the global chessboard, the initiative has shifted decisively to Washington, where the rules of the game were rewritten within a mere 48-hour window. The message from the White House, stating that Iran's energy infrastructure will be obliterated if the Strait of Hormuz is not fully reopened, has instantaneously propelled the regional conflict from a phase of low-intensity skirmishes to one of total strategic destruction. This ultimatum is far more than a diplomatic pressure tactic. It is backed by the physical menace of nuclear-capable B-52 bombers and the synchronized boots of 20,000 fresh American troops. Defense analysts emphasize that this timeframe serves as a surrender or face darkness call to enemy elements. Targeting power plants and electrical grids means surgically severing a nation's entire connection to the modern world within 2 days. The clock is ticking, and the countdown resonates not only in military command centers, but also at the very heart of global energy markets. The backdrop to this severe ultimatum lies in the first major physical blow dealt to fifth-generation technology on the battlefield. The fact that an F-35A Lightning II sustained damage during an operational mission, forcing an emergency landing, has rattled the Pentagon's doctrine of dominance through stealth, while making Washington's response significantly more aggressive. When a technological prestige loss occurs, military reaction typically pivots toward brute force and strategic paralysis, a well-known doctrinal reflex. The dent in the F-35's invincible image has pushed the U.S. to bypass precision-only strikes in favor of deploying broader, more destructive assets like the B-52s. The target list has now expanded beyond military bases to include the electrical plants that sustain national and urban life. Ironically, the shaking of the stealth myth has led to the full-scale deployment of visible and devastating power. This is the strategic sledgehammer taking over where subtle technology reached its limit. The operational plan set to trigger once the ultimatum expires aims not for the surgical strikes typical of fifth-generation jets, but for the total fracture of a nation's energy backbone. In modern warfare, targeting an entire power grid is the heaviest blow possible, simultaneously paralyzing defense capacities and logistical networks. The stealth hunt incident involving the F-35s reinforced a consensus among commanders. If surgical strikes are being contested, the alternative is area denial and infrastructure obliteration. If an adversary can detect the world's most advanced aircraft on their radars, the most effective response is to cut the electricity that feeds those very radars. This 48-hour window is essentially the preparation time for a modern state to be plunged back into medieval darkness. This new phase is a dangerous escalation, evolving from a duel of defense technologies into a scenario where a nation's physical existence is put at extreme. The 48-hour ultimatum hangs like an execution warrant over Karg Island, the region's most critical energy terminal. The rapid deployment of 20,000 fully equipped U.S. troops is the most concrete evidence that this ultimatum is not limited to airstrikes. A ground invasion and control operation is firmly on the table. Karg Island is the heart of the regime's oil exports and holds the value of an unsinkable aircraft carrier for controlling the Strait of Hormuz. If the gates of the strait remain closed, amphibious marines and paratrooper brigades are standing by for orders to physically seize the island. This would mean not just cutting off the regime's electricity, but surgically removing its economic lungs. The presence of 20,000 troops is the largest and riskiest all-in move Washington has played to win this high-stakes geopolitical gamble. As the 48-hour countdown continues, the top priorities on the Pentagon's target list are the main distribution grids and massive power plants. Military planners anticipate that destroying these facilities will instantly collapse enemy air defense networks, command and control centers, and urban life, likely triggering civil unrest. An army without electricity is merely a pile of iron. Radars cannot function, and fuel pumps cannot run. This paralysis doctrine is the most cost-effective yet devastating way to render an adversary unable to fight. Through this ultimatum, Washington is essentially messaging, if you cannot sell your oil, you shall not use your electricity. The role of the 20,000 troops in this process is to secure strategic coastal strips and energy terminals amidst the resulting power vacuum. This is not just a bombardment plan. It is a blueprint for making a country physically ungovernable. Trump's warning to start with the biggest power plants has sent shockwaves through global energy markets. The potential occupation of a terminal as massive as Karg Island and the destruction of the power grid would create an irreparable void in energy security. However, Washington views this energy execution strategy as the only radical way to permanently resolve the blockage in the Strait of Hormuz. The presence of 20,000 troops provides a steel shield against asymmetric retaliation, while aiming to guarantee the economic ownership of the occupied zones. Despite condemnation from various global actors, the 48-hour time bomb continues to tick on the ground. At the end of this ultimatum, the world will either witness the reopening of the strait or the most significant destruction of energy infrastructure in modern history. The stakes are immense, but for Washington, backing down is no longer an option. Under the shadow of the ultimatum, the waters of the Strait of Hormuz are witnessing a bloody boat hunt by the legendary A-10 Warthogs and AH-64 Apaches. The swarms of fast attack boats and mine-laying vessels used by the regime to keep the strait closed are being torn apart by the A-10's 30mm Avenger cannons. This asymmetric cleansing operation is a precursor to the Great Destruction that will begin at the end of the 48-hour period. If the energy plants are struck, this mission aims to ensure that the naval asymmetric threat is also fully neutralized. Apache helicopters, using thermal imaging, are hunting down individual missile launchers and small boats throughout the night, clearing a secure corridor for the potential landing of the 20,000 troops. This small, but lethal war recertifies who holds the keys to the strait. With the 48-hour countdown has forced the global economy to face oil prices surpassing the $115 mark. Trump's threat to strike energy facilities has the potential to plunge not just a region, but the entire world's production lines into darkness. This uncontrolled surge in Brent crude prices is on the verge of triggering the largest energy apocalypse in history. The ultimatum, hardened by the damage to the F-35, the plans to occupy Karg Island, and the shadow of 20,000 troops, has pushed the war to a point of irreversible destruction. At the military report, we will continue to monitor every explosion in Hormuz and the outcome of this massive 48-hour gamble second by second. The future of the world is being shaped within these smoky hours. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and witness the largest energy and power war in history with us. Thank you, and stay strategic.